Barry, what'd you see on the tape?
I saw, a team that played hard, offense that played hard, competed hard from start to finish, that just made too many mistakes to be able to win the game and do the job that we're supposed to do, score more points than the other team. Came up short of that just through execution, through not taking advantage of opportunities. And conversion downs, that was the big thing that stuck out, to me, was the third and fourth combined. We had been fairly decent up into this point in the season, and Saturday was we really did not perform very well when it came to third and fourth down conversions.
Barry, I know it's been talked about before, you've addressed it, focused on it, but those short yardage situations, what is going wrong there? What do you guys need to clean up?
Well, obviously, the start off the first series of the game when we got down inside of there, and we had, I think, there was 4 play calls, right, on first and goal, and I mean 2 of the 4 we just didn't execute, the third, the other 2 calls you could be made for argue that they had a better defense than maybe what I had called, but we had opportunities to get in, didn't take advantage of it through execution, and then the other situations we had I think a 4th and 1 or 4th and 2, or both of those that we came up short on, and sometimes it's a combination between, you saying, man, I wish I could have had this call over, obviously you vet all those things during the course of the week, you plan and go through them and say, here's what you anticipate. They don't always unfold exactly the way that you think that they're going to unfold as far as just what you're going to see from a front standpoint or a coverage. But those play calls have, which you say, I don't know if answers, but opportunities for us to be able to be successful despite what they play. And so there's a balance there between, man, that's one that I'd like to call that one over again, or we got to execute better. Regardless, whatever it is, like we tell the players all the time, and whether it's execution, whether it's play call, I mean, the bottom line is we are not getting it done. Didn't get it done on Saturday, and that falls squarely on me. And so we got to be better in those situations.
You guys have talked all year about staying in the moment. How do you keep from letting that game that you just had be a problem for the next week, the week after?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think, it's the kind of the proverbial, you can't let somebody beat you twice,
right.
I mean, Michigan State came in here and earned the victory on Saturday, and we can't let that affect our preparation for a really good Purdue team that's got a game that's so important to us. So I think Coach did a great job yesterday laying that out to the guys to say, hey, listen, we came in, we watched the film. I don't think anybody enjoyed watching the film. I know they didn't. None of us enjoyed watching it. I mean, we got in there and got after them. We didn't change who we are. I mean, we're going to coach and teach the same way we would if we just won the game 6 in a row, But you bury the game, and then we literally had a break, and then we came back and said, all right, now we're turning the page to Purdue, and our guys were very responsive to that.
Was there anything you saw in particular on the offensive line? It seems like that was kind of an outlier from what we've seen out of them the previous 6 games.
Yeah, I would agree with that to some extent. I thought that their effort and their strain, I don't think that's ever been compromised. I mean, they play hard. That's our standard, at all positions. And but for whatever reason, some of it was we moved a little bit more, with some motions and some eye candy. We moved a little bit more in some of our run schemes, and it caused us some more problems than I anticipated it causing us. But we need to play better across all positions, but in particular, it wasn't one of their better days. They have been a group that has been really consistent for us and have really led us. And there's no doubt in my mind we'll bounce back from that. And listen, I'm not saying that the reason we came up short was on these guys. It was all of us. All had our moments where we didn't perform very well. Obviously, when you score 15 points in a game, it's not good enough to win hardly any games. And so we have to all play better. But our line, we'll bounce back, I think, this week.
Barry, is it fair to suggest that if you guys don't play well up front, you can't play call your way out of that in the same way that if the offensive line plays great, every play caller is great?
Well, I mean, I think that's probably, hyperbole on both ends, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't necessarily agree with that wholeheartedly, but there's some truth to that. Obviously, the better they play, the more we control the line of scrimmage, the more you are able to stay within your plan, and when you're struggling a little bit, it makes it more difficult. But it's no different than anybody else doing their job. Same for the quarterback or for the receivers. I mean, you had to do your job, and we've had a lot of moments where guys have done that, but Saturday at inopportune times, I'm not talking about any one position group, we just collectively didn't do our job well enough, starting with me, moving on down.
What stands out to you about the Purdue defense?
Tough, physical. I mean, they look like a lot of the other Big Ten defenses. They know what they're doing. They're very sound in their scheme. Support the run really well. They've statistically been really, really good against the run this year. I think they're top 25 nationally against run and rushing defense. They tackle well, and they get down in there in the box and challenge you to throw it. And I think they do a good job on defense.
A lot of common opponents at this time of year.
Yeah.
Do you look at those games and see what teams had success and how they did it?
Certainly, yeah. There's a lot of film. I mean, we're 9 games into it, and there's a lot of film and validation of who they are and what they are. It goes both ways too. We've got a lot of film out there too of ourselves, so it's all available. And this time of year, everybody's pretty settled in to kind of who they are and what they're trying to be, and so there's not a lot of punches pulled at this particular time of the year. It's about executing who you are, and can you be who you are better than they are who they are. That's a lot of R's and names, but you guys get what I'm saying.
Barry, obviously, Chase gets so much attention, gets other people some opportunities. The tight ends seem to be benefactors of that here recently. Like, is that something that's opening up a little bit more, or has that been more of a focus?
Yeah, it has been. I mean, against Nebraska, it kind of popped up. I use this word a lot, organically through the course of the play call. Last week was a little bit more intentional to some degree, kind of pending the forecast of the weather. Felt like that was something that, we were going to be probably limited and be able to push the ball down the field, and it kind of held true to some degree. I mean, that was the most intense win I've been a part of in a football game. I mean, it was pretty violent, and so we thought that maybe using the run action and play action would help be able to put the ball in a little bit intermediate zone for our tight ends in particular, and that held to be true. They did a nice job in the passing game on Saturday.
How do you balance that? Chase Brown is so good at what he does. He draws a lot of attention, but you don't want to go away from him.
Yeah.
So like, using him as a decoy and then using him, how do you balance that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something that I'm, as a play caller and organizer of the offense, constantly not wrestling with, but trying to navigate and piece together how best that would fit us and what we need to do. And because you're right, I mean, you got a guy here that's a really elite running back, and you want him to touch the ball. You want him to impact the game, but you also don't want to do it so much and so often that you're beating your head up against the wall. So, there's been times we've had nice balance in that. There's probably been times where we've stuck to that to some degree too much. But hopefully down the stretch we can really find that formula and we've found that formula a lot of times during the course of the year of run and play action and using our quick passing game. And so hopefully we get back on track this week with using those things.
Isaiah has kind of had those long catch and runs last week. So have you guys been able to maybe kind of find him more space on those short routes?
It's just happened through the course of the play call. I mean, it's been some of our base play calls on early downs, and he's done. It's almost like a carbon copy of the week before against Nebraska when he caught that ball and there's Chase down the field and blocking multiple guys and Isaiah running after catch. So, I think Isaiah's really the last couple of weeks has played really well for us and has proven over and over again that he's a real threat when he has the ball in his hands. We've got to continue to find ways for him to touch the football, but really all the things that are showing up for us have happened pretty naturally for us in the flow of the offense.
I know we'll ask Brett about Josh's availability, but just the last 2 weeks, what has it been like trying to find the right amount of usage for him, getting him back into the rhythm?
Yeah, I think obviously there was a little bit more Saturday, and then he got horse collared, and I think that affected him just a little bit physically, honestly, and so it probably would have been supplemented more down the stretch of the game if maybe if that hadn't happened. And so I think the biggest thing for us is I saw a big jump from him last week and for his readiness. The week before Nebraska, he was probably on the verge of being ready. He was close, and then last week he was really close to being, I think, back to 100%. And I think once he gets established there, obviously we're never going to put him in the game if he's not prepared and physically able to protect himself. But I think mentally last week was a really good week for him to get back to gain that confidence. I think that moving forward here, I think he's going to have a full slate of health and be able to really impact the game more and more as he goes on each week.
What does that readiness look like? Like how can you tell that he's starting to get to that point?
Yeah, I think you just watch him in practice and run in pregame, and there's no favoring, and his eyes and his countenance and all those types of things that go along with the guy being fully engaged, be ready to go. I think he's made some real strides in that.
What have you learned from Coach B about building a program?
Well, yeah, that's. I think Coach has got an incredible gift for that. I don't think. I know he does. And so I saw that, and I was able to experience that as working for him for 5 years at Arkansas. I saw the way he went about, the culture, and he doesn't use that word. That's a lot of people that uses that word. A lot of people use that word in sports and business, is a lot, in particular football and basketball. You talk about the culture that you build. And he has a unique way of building it without, banging the drum saying this is our culture. Like, these are our expectations. This is how we operate on a daily basis. And he has a unique ability to get coaches and players to conform to that through the course of, without ruling with an iron fist. And I think that's what makes him really unique in this business. He's got a lot of experience, a lot of success, a lot of wisdom, and he just continually, through consistency, is what I would say, is he's the same guy every day. So I've learned a lot of those things about how to manage that from him, and it's something I'm continually learning from on a daily basis. Even like when how you handle success, winning 6 games in a row, and then how you handle failure, because that's part of this business and that's part of this job, and I think he does a great job at that.
Brett said something after the game about personnel groupings in the red zone when you get closer inside the 10. My question is, as a play caller, how much are you thinking about, God, I don't want to substitute here because I don't want to give them a chance to?
I don't get too caught up in that. I think there's times, when you get them in certain groupings, like you want to continue to play. It's just like when we went to 13 personnel the other day, and on the goal line, as soon as we did that, we knew they were going to sub and get heavy, and we had a very specific scheme for a very specific defense that unveiled just like we thought it would. We just didn't. We weren't able to execute the play the way that we were hoping to be able to do. But so there's a lot of strategy that's involved in that, to say, okay, we're going to stay in what we're currently in to keep them from subbing, or are we going to go to a grouping that's going to invite? As long as you're in tune with what you're going to get, I don't think it really has a strong impact one way or the other. As long as you're tuned into what you're going to get if they sub on when you sub.
Barry, you haven't had to come back and try and go, catch up.
Yeah.
What did you see from your team getting your unit getting a chance to tie the game late? Like, what did you learn about them in that situation?
Well, I thought they showed some grit, all the way down to the 4th down. That's a unique situation to be, backed up that far and to have the elements fighting against you to some degree, and it got to 4th down and it wasn't going our way, and Tommy threw a strike and Brian made a great catch, and all of a sudden we were going, and unfortunately we did not execute the last play of the game the way it needed to be executed, and costing us opportunity to get the ball in the end zone and still have a chance. So we got to get better from that. We got to grow from that. We can't let that happen again. I was pleased with the way we popped it down the field, and we were fighting and scratching and clawing, but we got to finish that with the ball in the end zone to give our guys a chance to catch it.
What adjustments can you make for better 4th down success on Saturday?
I'm sorry, one more time.
What adjustments can you make for better 4th down success on Saturday?
Well, the adjustments primarily need to be through, I think, a combination of, putting our guys in a better situation, and then we have to be able to execute the details of those calls and those critical moments, which we've shown we've had a propensity to do so at this, to this part of the season. Obviously reflected back in Minnesota just a few weeks earlier, we were really good on 4th down. And so I think our guys have confidence in that. We just didn't get it done. We had some longer ones the other day too that kind of added into the 1 for 6. But the short ones, obviously like the percentage scale, when you're dealing with 4th and 1 and 4th and 2, those are favorable for the offense to achieve, and we got to get those. When it gets 4th and 7 and 4th and 8, your chances of getting them get lower. We had to do every one of those that we did the other day. There was just no question that every one of those 4th downs that we went for, I think were pretty just slam dunks as far as you have to. The situation called for it. We weren't able to kick a field goal into that strong of a win from the 25-yard line. So So your percentages obviously go against you the longer it gets, but we've got to be better in those ones that are manageable for us through both play call and through execution.
Seems like you played a lot on that.
Go ahead.
Arguably the biggest game, obviously, in the last decade, with the implications and everything coming up against Purdue. Has that been talked about amongst the team, and has that message been given across?
Yeah, as we turned the page last night, I think everybody's in tune with what's at stake still for us, and what happened on last Saturday does not really impact us moving forward to a large degree. I mean, I'm not trying to sweep what happened under the rug by any stretch of the imagination, but I think everybody understands. There's a rivalry involved. There's implications to the conference race involved, and also the old. I mean, you get 12 of them guaranteed, right? And if you can't get up for each of those 12, then something's wrong with you. I'm confident our guys will bounce back and put their best foot forward this week to get ready to play a good Purdue team.
On that last drive, it looked like Casey was close to being out of bounds.
Yeah.
What are the mechanics of communicating that with the guys on the field to let?
Well, we're going. Really, to be honest with you, what held us up, it was we had just a little hiccup in what the protection was, and just if it was one way or the other. And so there was just a small argument there, not argument, but just a little pause that cost us a few seconds. The guy, Casey, was really close to the sideline. I don't know if there was a small amount of confusion there that when he caught the ball on the sideline and the clock stopped for a first down, I don't know if our guys thought that maybe it paused for a second because it was like really bang, bang play right on the sideline. But we should have been in our normal operating mode there of assuming we're going. And we just took a few too many ticks there that, it was ended up being a costly deal to lose those 5 to 6 seconds there. It could have afforded us one more play. Something, again, that we got to learn from and move on from in a hurry.